another episode of A State of Loud. I'm your host, Christopher Jefferson, here, and you know at my side, the one, the only, the sidekick like no other, Mr. AJX Beast Mode. Welcome back to the show. What's going on, bro?
Yes, sir. Hey, what's going on, y'all? What's going on, people? Hey, I've been seeing y'all. Y'all been tuning in. Y'all been watching stuff. Stay tuned. We got some more stuff.
Wow. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell, right? Thank you.
Of course.
But no, AJ, welcome back. I know we had a good week. We're back in here. A little warm weather, but we're back. And we have a very special guest. I know I say that with every show. That's because every guest I have is special because I know dope people. You know what Kanye said? Everything I do is dope.
Yep.
So I'm sorry. I'm going to claim it right now.
Kanye.
I'm just saying, though.
So apropos.
So without further ado, I want to introduce to you guys, he's an entrepreneur. He has a startup mindset wherever he goes. He's willing to grow instantaneously no matter what he's around. He's in the mental health space. He's into the social justice space. He's into creating initiatives that are there to build communities and make people's lives better. If you haven't heard of him now, you have. He is the founder and current managing partner of Empower You, a person I'm very proud to have here on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Marlon Gray.
Jeff, thank you very much. I was waiting for the round of applause.
We need to get that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. We have to establish.
Hey, the soundboard. We got to make one of these the round.
It's in there.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there.
It's in there.
I was waiting for that.
I got to add it. Yeah, it's got to be added.
Oh, we aren't that advanced yet. We're getting there.
Listen, man, we're going to get there. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We talked about this, before the recording about dreaming big and projecting to where you're going to be. And
absolutely.
Things like that. But, it's an absolute honor to be here. So thank you very much for having me, Chris. It's a beautiful life.
Yes, sir.
Life is good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. And I appreciate you having me, because we bumped into each other the first time December at a holiday party. I had no expectation of actually talking to you. Heard about you before. And then I remember one of my colleagues come to me like, yo, that's him. Yo, you got to go talk to him.
Like, this is another one of those jerks.
Not even.
To sit back and be antisocial. I saw his look from across the
I wasn't trying. I was tired. I wasn't trying to be antisocial.
And he had it's crazy because he's talking about it's him. I was sitting there looking at you and I was looking at your hair and I was like, that's Frederick Douglass?
Yo.
I said the same thing when we first met. I'm like, yo, Frederick Douglass cut.
And as a bald man, I was sitting there in amazement, like, that's really nice, but I can't go up and just be like, yo, can I touch it?
Bro, now I got to give you a video to put up. Now I got to post the video of it.
Why was I saying the same thing when we first met?
I can't stand
the Frederick Douglass,
bro. Because y'all going to make me grow it back. Y'all going to make me grow it back, man.
You have that option.
For now.
Yo.
For now. I'm not going to lie. It'll be there for a while. My dad is up there in age, and he still got his hair.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is as thin as it'll get, and I can keep growing it out. I'm happy with it. So I'm blessed for that. But yeah, man. And ever since that conversation, man, just keeping up with everything you're doing and things you're building. We've had great conversations. So I definitely got to start off because I'm aware of some of the stuff you're building, but I want the people to know. So kind of, I'll not even say summing up. Take your time and tell me, like, what are some of the things and initiatives you having going on right now that are really making you excited?
Oh, I mean, like I said, life is definitely good. I consider myself to be a social entrepreneur. I think that I walk in my purpose on purpose. So with everything that I try to do, I try to find a way to incorporate, that purpose-driven lifestyle in with business. We talked about, prior, we talked about having your hobbies and your passions kind of, get into the business side as well. So I feel very fortunate that way because I'm not hustling every day for a check. I'm just hustling to receive more purpose in everything that I do and then establish more areas where we can grow and do something that's impactful so that you can just step back and be like, yo, that was dope, right? And so so with Empower You is a double entendre, right? Empower You, the letter U, period, the way it's written, is really Empower University because we are a learning organization for the people who go out to empower the people. And as we empower the people, our value proposition back is their own empowerment, the empowerment of self.
Bars.
Come on now.
Bars.
Come on now.
Well, you actually heard before the recording. Back in my no, I'm just kidding. So I mean, I love it because I would say that we are a learning organization that really seeks to empower the individuals who seek to empower the individuals affected by behavioral health challenges. That's mental health, that's substance use disorder, that is behavioral health challenges such as ADHD, anxiety, what have you. It could be at-risk youth, children with autism or individuals with autism. We look to challenge areas at their hardest points with the mindset that if you can provide solutions at their hardest points, you can solve things at any point, right? And so we do that as a means of trying to expand our reach. But the ecosystem that we're building of empowerment of the people who seek to empower also is a journey, right? To exploration of self, like job rotations around different populations, et cetera. And when people actually find their niche, we're standing behind them like, okay, cool. How do we actually activate that? How do we put your dreams on steroids? For instance, a particular program that we're working on, very, very exciting. It's actually out of San Diego, would be an acquisition opportunity that we have, is a young lady who's a clinician whose father was in the Marines, right?
Wow.
And she knew the challenges he had from a mental health lens. In fact, a lot of people in mental health are usually attracted by something in their life to this field to do this work. So in understanding, a deeper understanding of her father, she actually started specializing in people who were veterans, who've actually seen action and have gone through some things, and the PTSD that they might come back home with and actually have to be challenged with through the rest of their days, right?
Yes.
That became a business for her in the mental health space, where she's based in San Diego, not because she loves the area, but because she has 12 military bases around her, and that's actually a source of places for her to go walk in her purpose. So when we see that, and you're walking in your purpose,
Yes.
we're like that annoying person that runs up to, like right alongside of you when you're just trying to jog on your own. It's like, hey, buddy, what are we working on today? Where are we going today? Can I rock with you? Right?
Oh, man.
And so we try to create that atmosphere that when people find that point of empowerment within self, they find that purpose within self. Can we activate it?
Yes.
Can we amplify it? Right? And can we actually put a narrative and a message behind it that has a larger call to action to have people of all different walks of life come to people who have real lived in experience, right? We talk about cultural relatability, experiential relatability, and how it all feeds into the behavioral health sphere, right? And so when we find that in individuals, we really try to activate as much as possible. So that part is very exciting. Working on learning management systems is actually very exciting for us too. I'm a nerd, so I'm all about nerd culture. I say it Empower You. We have nerd culture. We talk about metacognition, being constantly thinking about your own thinking, deconstructing some of your experiences, and then translating that into future experiences that you shape, your own empowerment. So we look at all those types of things as a culture. And that part is very exciting because I'm starting to see now, almost 10 years in, we turn 10 next year.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And so when we are looking at the ecosystem that we've kind of built in this nerd culture, and we've been able to see, especially a lot of Black and brown clinicians going back to serve their neighborhoods and using that in-home family model where our therapists are going into people's homes and in their communities. 10, 15 years ago, people didn't want to go to certain parts of Jersey City, Newark, Camden, Asbury Park.
Absolutely.
Right? Now you got people from Newark, Jersey City, Asbury Park, Camden, going back to the neighborhoods they grew up in with the same skill set as their non-urbanized, non-minoritized counterparts in the suburbs, right? So now we're creating a better system of access to culturally relatable, experientially relatable care in mental health through empowerment. Right, so it's exciting.
I'm gonna just let that sit, just for a minute, because that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, but
I was gonna say you got to let it marinate.
Yeah, seriously.
Started marinating this seat,
bro. Yo,
get a glass of water.
Yeah, get some water, bro. No, the lights get hot again. It definitely gets toasty. But nah, you hit on so many points that I think make not only yourself and the way in which you do business. You just special and to the point, but even how you guys conduct business. And the first thing that really stood out was, like you said, finding people that are doing what they love and love what they do, and then empowering them to do it more. To me, I almost feel like it's almost a lost art, ironically, because, and you maybe experienced it when you were younger. Like when you're super young, what do they tell you? You can do anything you want. Dream big. And then all of a sudden you get to high school and they're like,
where that gets lost.
What you gonna do? Because you going to college, for what job? Everything becomes about collecting a check and less about what you're good at and what you love doing. And ironically enough, it is the passion we have for something which will allow us to keep going when things get difficult.
Yes.
And so I can only imagine the exponential growth and success that you guys have had in doing that with people. Like I literally have embodied that with my team and seen them change just over 4 months. I can't imagine a whole company of individuals like that. You guys probably have, like I said, seen exponential growth just doing that thing.
Yeah, we definitely have seen a lot of growth kind of doing it that way. And I think that it all starts off with coming back to the personal why, right? We look at our recruitment strategy. We're not just hiring anybody with a heartbeat and a pulse, or called heartbeat and pulse anonymous. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But anybody with a pulse doesn't just come and work here. Like, we need to know, do you have growth needs? Because if you have growth needs, and then we as an organization can fill those growth needs, right, with opportunity, with upskill, with support around that stuff, then we can truly activate you. And so it's like you are just learning how to write 16s. Okay, cool. You're sitting there and you're spitting raps to your people, but it's only just to your people.
Yep.
Then we hand you a mic and you get on stage, but you're like, man, the crowd ain't moving. Da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, cool. How do we turn the mic up? So our job is to turn that mic up for you, because what you have is already good enough, right? But it's how do we get the message out there? How do we help you feel comfortable in your own skin and very much empowered in your own skin to go do that, right? And so a lot of it, I think, does come down to mindset. To your point, we're taught to dream big. Somehow, some way, life happens, whether it's experiences at home, school, community, whatever it is, and then it kind of starts shifting the mindset. That childlike curiosity seems to get lost. And in that loss is also some of the ability to dream big, right? And so we always say to dream big. It sounds crazy to other people who don't share your dream.
Yes.
Until you actually get it done, and all of a sudden it's like, we believed in you all the time. But the power is the peace in understanding that you believe in you all the time. And sometimes we lose that.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And so when you talk about what attracts people to this field, usually there's like a personal why that we try to tap into and look at. For instance, with our autism units, I have a lot of people who come in and say, I had a brother, I have a brother or a sibling that has autism, and they're 30 years old. They never had services. So I'm super passionate about fixing that. So I'm like, okay, I know your problem space. I understand your problem space, and I hear you.
Yeah.
How do we take that and how do we activate it? Where do you want to go and how do we get there together? Right? So like that's our culture and our mindset as an organization. My personal why, comes from trying to understand my own childhood challenges, things that were going on at home, in school, in the community. I grew up in the 80s, in what they called homicide hollis back then. It just gives you an indicator of what the neighborhoods were like. 201st in Jamaica, Queens, New York, right? Where you couldn't really go out to go play like kids want to do because somebody was over here shooting up, person over there got shot in the park. You couldn't go outside to go play.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you have that and you have some traumas happening at home and then you're getting bullied in school, like you feel cornered in and you start feeling a certain way, especially if, life is not handing you the simple things like, how you doing today? So something that simple changes somebody's day.
Absolutely.
It could actually change somebody's life. And so what happens is you start getting beaten down over time. Dreaming stops happening.
Yes.
Right? And now you get yourself into a spot of, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this for comfort. I'm just going to do this to survive. And you're not living.
No,
you're just going through the motions.
I'm just trying to get back to center.
Right.
I'm not trying to do too much more than that.
Yeah.
Doing all this is good enough for me.
And I think that's, it's not dangerous, but I feel bad for folks like that. I think for whatever it is that you do, I got a 15-year-old son. I tell him all the time, like, whatever you decide to do, be the damn best at doing it.
Yes, sir.
Whatever's in your heart to do, be the best at doing it. Put some time into your craft. Make sure that you feel it. The success and all the rest of that stuff is going to come afterward. But I think sometimes we lose that. Sometimes we miss that aspect of things. And we're just after the check because these bills don't pay themselves.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? I know I lived my life very similar for a long time, chasing a check. And as much as you actually do gain chasing a check, it's no way even close to what you make once you kind of lock in on what your purpose is.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you guys, that embodiment, like is not only something you have in the work that you do, but in your personal life and all together. And I mean, I want to hear more about what you're doing, but I got to dig in.
Yep.
How did you even get to this point? Where did it start from you? Did you have a moment where it kind of just clicked and you were like, oh, this is my thing? Did something happen? Like, what was that lightning strike moment for you?
Yeah. So it's going back to the Queens, New York thing and some of the childhood experiences. I think that I was largely challenged with regard to my own identification of self because, I'm first generation Guyanese.
Okay.
And so my parents had certain ways of viewing certain things. You know, there were certain methods to, let's say, behavioral modification that could have been used in that culture. Let's just be, you know, but it just never resonated with how I felt. Right? It just never resonated with how I felt. And I think that, you know, you describe a very critical time in life where getting to high school, it's like, okay, where you going to college? Where you going to study? Well, I'm interested in this. Well, that ain't good enough. You ain't gonna make no money. And I'm like, okay, but this is what I like to do. Well, that doesn't matter. Why don't you do this instead? You're smart enough to do this. You're smart.
Yep. Oh, and that's hard, right? Because they're saying that what you want isn't up to the caliber of what we think is possible for you.
They tell you you could do whatever you want except that.
Oh, that's wild.
It's like, so why would you dare me to dream just to dash my dreams when I try to communicate what they want? Right? So I tell people I'm a failed engineer. I started off in computer engineering, realized I didn't like it. You know, I didn't like sitting back and coding. I wanted to interact with people. So then they say, well, why don't you become a lawyer? You can talk in front of people all day.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So do the pre-law thing. I'm like, this really isn't for me. Not, you know, I have too much of a conscience to defend BS. Right?
Yes.
So I'm just like, it's not really going to work for me. Not knocking any attorneys. I know some amazing attorneys, but you know, it just didn't resonate with how I felt inside. Right. So when I started reflecting back, there was a college course that I took, my first actual psychology class, that helped me understand some things with regard to some of the parenting that I experienced growing up. Some of the feelings that I had growing up, and it really challenged me to look back at a lot of the things in life and see them a little bit differently.
Yes.
So when I looked at my dad, you know, getting this job as a CPA, right, trying to make it in corporate America as a black man in the 80s, 90s, with an accent, right, that he literally would switch out of, right? So, you know, Barry, how you doing? Yeah, man, I'm good. Cool. Barry, how you doing? Well, hey, Bob, let's get some pasta.
Gee.
Code switch was real. Like, it was crazy. And I'm like,
Sorry to bother you. That movie? Like the movie, Sorry to Bother You?
Yeah. Like, it was insane. Like, I was like, I didn't understand it in the moment. I just kind of thought he just spoke differently around different crowds of people or whatever, but he would always talk about conventionalism and having to look a certain way, having to work twice as hard to be accepted. And he was like beating that into me. You know what I mean? But at the same time, at the dinner table, very much disconnected at night. And he hated his job.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here reflecting back, and I'm like, you're trying to push me to go out and go get a job for what? To come home to my dinner table, to my family, and hate my job too? And so this is what I want to experience. I just want to be free.
Yeah.
I want to experience freedom, right? And so he was not happy when I said, hey, listen, this is not going to work for me. I found a job that I like, working with kids, and it actually helps me reconnect to myself, because I realized I wasn't a bad kid. I just didn't necessarily want to be pushed in a certain direction. I was going to give you resistance because I thought I knew what I wanted. Maybe I couldn't articulate it yet because I wasn't mature enough yet. But if something didn't feel right, at least I had that presence of self to know it. Right? Yeah. So this doesn't vibe with me.
Yeah.
It doesn't vibrate with me. So this is where I'm at. His response was, well, you know, I don't think you have enough discipline to run a business, right? And more so, you're telling me that you want to mess with people cheering? I said, well, Dad, this is 2001. I said, Dad, you don't want to say mess with people cheering, first things first. Okay? The whole R. Kelly case was just getting started, right? I'm like, you don't want to say mess with people cheering first thing. I don't want to be at a family barbecue like, what does Marlon do? Man, he's messing with people cheering. You know? I don't want to be at the family barbecue and have that go down.
Take my card.
So, but the funny thing is, like, he was killing my dreams simply because, you know, he was living his reality that didn't have those dreams. That stuff had already been stripped from him.
Yep.
So he was trying to strip it from me unconsciously. Like, he didn't do it on purpose. It was more like I knew safety and security, and this is how I achieved it. And I just want you to be safe and secure. So I had to deconstruct a lot of those things and realize that, you know what, they were doing the best with what they knew. And so I think that's all we could ever really do. And so I told myself, I just want to live to be free. I want to learn, make mistakes. Like, you know, Richard Branson says, like, I don't want to learn to walk by following rules, especially your rules, right? Thanks. I want to learn to walk, and by falling over, learn how not to fall over. It's okay as long as you keep picking yourself up. And so some people who are scared to take risks, and that's what entrepreneur stands for in French, risk taker. If you're scared to take risks, then you're scared to fall over. But what are you actually standing for your entire life? And so that's kind of what my mindset was in getting into it. And I think after the first year, my dad was like, wait, you have a real business? I said, yeah. He's like, all right, well, now you're making money. I'm going to tell you what to do with your money. Of course you are.
Could you help me get this far?
Oh, you know what? And he's going to kill me for this if he ever sees his dad. I love you, right? But he was like, so you have money saved up and you're telling me that you want to invest in this company called Goggle? I said, Google. He said, IPO 134, 130. What do you know about stocks? Put your money in a CD instead. What did I do?
Wow.
Put my money in a CD instead. Parents are not always right. You know what I'm saying? So you got to challenge things. You got to ask questions. Oh, it is a Thanksgiving thing every single year.
That's like, it's hard to hug you after that. Like, I'm like, dude. You have to be like, I love you.
Yeah,
I love you.
Real. I'm like, yo, are you picking up the stuff in this year? I said, I could if I could afford it. You know, if I had put my money. I love you, Dad. I'm just messing with you.
But that's such a, man, I just gotta, Whew. Oh man, I felt that one. I felt that one. But
Right?
you make such a you outline such a huge experience that happens in many people's lives that are risk takers, where we are deeply influenced by our parents, our loved ones, our trusted adult, whatever you want to label them as, and you're kind of the first people we love and trust, and yet what we're feeling internally doesn't align with what you're saying to us. You're telling me words that disprove your current situation.
Yes.
To follow.
Yes.
Which also goes against what I feel.
Yes.
And then you having the strength, the will, and the courage to stand up and go, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to do it my way. Like, it
takes a lot.
What do you feel like attributed to having that level of courage? Was it just like your internal knowledge and of knowing what was for you and that desire of getting what you want? Or was it also a little bit of like, I definitely don't want that? Where did you kind of sit?
It's funny. It's definitely the latter.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of elements of like what not to do. When I got into this industry, I worked for an agency that the owner was only cared about billable hours, didn't run background checks on people, hired just whoever as long as they could work the hours, right? And I watched that burn him. You know, there's a whole story I could tell you about that part of it. But from him, I tell people that I'm successful in this business because I had a crash course in what not to do. And so my dad, very successful guy, but what not to do for me was to go home and, you know, after working your fingers to the bone all day and just be super miserable about what it is that you got to do and just waking up, just feeling defeated, like, damn, I got to go in again. You know, let me put on the suit, trench coat, jump on the iron horse, go do it all over again, rinse, wash, repeat.
Yep.
Can't even play with the kids on the weekend. Why? Because I'm exhausted. Right? And so that's not what I wanted for my life. So as much as it could have been seen as resistance, it wasn't resistance to instruction. It was just resistance to something that I saw that I did not like, something that I observed that I just did not want. Yeah. And it's like bad food. It's like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Like you try to give bad food to a toddler and he spits it out.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So what you're telling me right here just feels like bad food. I'm going to spit it out, but I'm not being disrespectful. I love you. It's just not for me.
I'm not being disrespectful. I love you. That's just not for me. That's heavy. That's so heavy because it's like having been in a similar situation. It kind of can tear you in two different directions, right? Pull you in two different directions because like usually we want our parents' approval, right? Yeah. Usually we want you to be proud. We want you to be happy with this. Like, look what I did. Tell your friends, tell the family. And in that moment, it's kind of where you're sitting at a crossroads and you're deciding, do I do what's for me? And I no longer care what anyone else thinks. Right. Or do I sit here and still go after that affirmation I desire from my parents? And it's ironic that you say entrepreneur stands for risk taker because that's literally the biggest first risk you take is like, no matter how successful I may be, this person still may never be proud of me.
Yes, and it's tough to wrestle with. And it's funny because one thing, and you'd asked about how we get to this point, it all just comes down to resilience.
Yes.
Right? You have to have a certain level of resilience. I think in taking any type of risk, you have to understand that you have that resilience to give you the confidence to boost you into taking that risk, knowing that, hey, I'll survive this.
Yes, sir.
Right? So I look at it like anything else that's scary, like roller coasters scare the crap out of me.
Yeah, really?
Terrified. Terrified. I get I get upset when I go to like Disneyland, Disney World, Great Adventure, and like I'm looking at this ridiculous roller coaster. I'm looking up and down. You could see.
It's about Kingdom Come.
Yeah, King the Car.
Yo.
You gotta see the look in my face. I'm just like, oh hell no. I'm like, oh hell no. And the worst part about it is you got this like 5-year-old little kid who's looking at this thing like, wait. To die?
Barely big enough to get in the seat. Hold on like this.
Yeah, but I liken risk taking to that though, because one of the things that people don't look at is yes, you're looking at this roller coaster and it seems like it's going to be a daunting task to get up and down and survive this whole thing. But guess what? You don't see when you're online for that, or you don't notice because you're busy being scared and distracted. The happy ass people coming off that roller coaster who have survived, they're happy, they're bragging about it. It has to instill in you that resilience to say that it's going to be okay once I take this risk.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. And you have to know that. So one of those risks that are associated with your family not necessarily being on board with what it is that you're trying to do and the risk that you take in doing that, as long as you maintain that belief in yourself and that you can be okay. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's funny because my dad for his 70th birthday did this whole video thing because the pandemic was going on, whatever, so we couldn't get connected. So I'm like, everybody just do these video shorts and we'll put together a video and send him like a video card, right? He's like, I didn't believe in you, and I'm actually sorry that I didn't, because you proved me different. I thought I knew something, and you showed me that, you knew how to carve your own way. We just didn't hear you. And I was like, damn, that was powerful. But the risk that I took and some of the seeming costs that you had in terms of disconnect or discord that you might have experienced, just in that one moment, I don't think he knows what that actually did for my heart.
Oh, absolutely.
After all of this, right?
Absolutely.
And so for some, sometimes people don't necessarily believe in your dream and they can't see how they're maybe creating that friction. But if you look at it mathematically, right, a force's true measure is its ability to overcome friction. And so you have to be very willing to accept that friction, no matter what it looks like, if you truly believe in yourself.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So,
sheesh, like, oh man, it's
bars.
No, absolutely,
That's real,
absolutely. I'm like AJ, I'm like literally, I'm paranoid, bro. It's a good show. Got to make sure we got it on. No, I think, man, you hit so many really important points about really taking risks that at least people from the outside don't see.
Yep.
Because going after what you want isn't just like, I'm desiring the end. You're like signing a contract that's saying, well, this is who I'm agreeing to be this person, and whoever that may be, to get to what I want. So I don't know what I'm going to have to do to become that person, but I know that I can't stop. And no matter how hard it gets, I'm going to continue. Yep. And I'm not even guaranteed that the ending I want is going to be there.
Right.
But I'm signed up for this ride, so let's go for it.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of people take for granted when they do see the success. Yep. Is they think like, because I guess we live in a world where you're not going to be up late nights working. You're not going to sit at the computer all night. You're not driving the far drives. You're not doing all the paperwork and doing all the grunt work. Right. That they think that your success happens overnight.
Yeah.
And
it's sadly mistaken.
It's always sadly mistaken. Like even to this day, when people go, man, Chris, in the last couple years, in the last year or so in media, you really flew. I'm like, yeah, but you don't realize, like, I had
those nights,
I've been editing consistently. Yeah. I've had 3 mentors in the industry that tear my work apart.
Yes.
Like, this was my second
choice to have, by the way.
Bro.
That truth is
I used to literally, I kid you not, I would go out and film something for a client when I just started out doing gigs like crazy cheap, just because I needed the experience. Go out, go above and beyond, film something, edit it, and then I would email it to my three people that were in the industry. And I would say, I'd text them and be like, I just sent it, take a look and let me know what you think.
I just love the fact that you're closing your eyes when you say that.
Bro.
That message, you're praying, it's like, oh my God, please.
I just don't want a paragraph. Just don't give me a paragraph. Right. And they'd be like, okay. And then I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my girl, I'm like, she's like, what's up? I'm like, I sent it out.
Yeah.
I sent it out. I'm waiting for him to come back. And then I get that, my phone vibrates. Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, just don't be a paragraph. Yes. Like, let it be like 1 or 2 things. And I look, I'm like, oh, it's 2 paragraphs. It's 2. It couldn't even come in on a regular SMS. Yeah. But I did that continuously, over and over, put myself through that gauntlet. Yep. And people don't realize, like, you have to literally throw your ego away.
Yeah, you have to.
Like if there's any ego and pushback, it's literally saying, I want to, it's instant gratification. I want to feel good now and forego being really good at this later. And doing that consistently, I'll never forget the day that I sent out one video and all of them were like, looks good. Not that was amazing. Bro, that's so good. Just that's good. And I was like, oh my God, they didn't want to change anything. And I called him on the phone. I was like, are you sure? He goes, well, I mean, if you really wanted me to be picky, like the color in this one is a little off, but you could change that with just a few knobs. He goes, oh, no, it's great. And I was like, oh my God, I made it. And I was like, I hung up the phone and I thought it was great.
But do you see power in that though?
Oh,
because,
yeah.
You know, the constructive criticism is not designed to break you.
Exactly.
It's not designed to break you.
Exactly.
You can't take it as such. And
you can't.
You can't receive it as such.
And it literally, I feel like and I say this all the time, that we haven't created a world that makes it okay to make mistakes.
Right.
If you go out on your own and you try something, you fail, then people make fun of you.
Man, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard.
And that's my point, right? It's ironic. We have an entire movie culture through the 80s and 90s of bullies being in movies that portray the instant gratification. I was the cool kid in high school that had the cool hair, the cool car, the girl, and that kid spending hours doing something else is a nerd, and we're going to make fun of you and you suck. Right. And the ironic thing is, I'm like, most of those people are the people that are successful now.
Correct.
It's very rare that the guy that was doing amazing in high school is doing amazing the rest of his life. Like maybe nobody. I'm sitting here like, no, Tom Brady sucked. He definitely did not get picked up. He was like third string at a point. Right. Like Brett Favre was trash. Right. Like how many basketball players suck? Derrick Rose kept getting injured and he's still coming back being a monster. Like
dropping 50.
Come on now. Come on.
Tears and
it just shows
but it's resilience though. Like
thank you.
Resilience, it gets developed, right?
Yes.
So when you talked about when people come by and they see that, they think like, oh, you know, your success happened overnight. Arnold didn't get that damn big overnight.
No.
Right? Listen, people might have their opinions on how he got that big, but you can't deny the fact that it's the constant time in the gym.
Yes.
It's the constant check-ins with self. Like, you know what? I want to work on my pecs today. I want to work on my shoulders. Today is leg day. I got to do this, do that.
Yep.
It's the discipline that you form within yourself and the satisfaction for a job well done serving yourself, right? Builds that discipline. So, yeah, you're not in my body every single day. You don't know what I experience or what I feel from sun up to sundown. You don't know what's going on in my head, but I do know that I'm on a path and I'm taking every little step. And so when you see it from a distance, it's like, damn, that happened overnight. Brother, if you were in this skin, it didn't feel like overnight. You didn't lose sleep. You didn't wake up in a sweat after having a nightmare that everything that you ever worked with crashed.
Yes.
Just to wake up and try to plan on how that could never happen to you. Right? And so like people, they don't understand all of that.
No, and that every single thing in which you're describing, I felt through this journey, and that's why it resonates so heavy. Yeah, it resonates so heavy because it shows that like, as much as your journey is individually yours, there is a key, there is a map, there is
there are themes, there are areas of commonality that make us very similar.
Yes,
your path is going to be the same, but some of the bumps and blows that we experience along that path will be very similar in terms of context. Like,
absolutely,
you know what I mean? And like conceptually, right? They might be very, very similar, although they're not the same. And I think that when you bird's eye view life versus getting stuck in the minutia of it, you're actually able to see and appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And so that's one of the things that you have to, as a part of your resilience, you got to stop and do that. Like a part of your resilience, believe it or not, it's not just the days that Arnold was pushing himself in the gym physically, pushing those weights up.
Yep.
Right. It's the days where you didn't really get your personal best today.
Nope.
Right. Yeah. Giving yourself that understanding and grace in the moment to push forward to another day. Ooh. People don't see that.
No.
Part of it. They don't understand how many times you had to actually pick yourself back up and push yourself again. Right. Like it's amazing what you can do. And I think that if we were able to push that message out to people more, you get them to dream. I feel like in this culture we have now, this influencer culture especially.
Yes.
We have so many people projecting you into spaces they've never navigated themselves before, right? But then you take a look at some people who are actually getting by and getting through, but they're not telling their stories to let people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think, and that's really one of the motives that got me into media was met so many amazing people that had so many amazing stories, but getting that breakthrough to be able to share it and impact people's lives seemed nearly impossible.
Yeah.
And I never could understand why, but like you said, when you're in influence culture, do you look the part? Do you sound the part? Can I sell you? Is a lot more valuable than did you actually do this?
Correct.
And that's what kind of got me into wanting to tell stories, to have a podcast, to share it, because and at the end of the day, like being in this space and going through it, the best gift you can be given is someone sharing their story and their journey with you, because you don't know how many gems are going to be dropped in the conversation.
That's what I love about old heads, man. Like I had a friend of mine tell me, like, I think you're a really interesting guy. So why is that? He goes, because I see you going on vacation with like 70-year-old men, married couples or whatever. And, you out here 40 years old, like y'all ain't doing the same stuff. You guys are not partying the same. I said, well, first things first, I'm not partying. Right? Like I'm out here and they're just dropping gem after gem after.
That's right.
Right. I got a buddy, Jesse. Jesse's 75 and he'll let you know. He says any damn thing he wants to. He'll let you know he's from Chicago.
Yep.
He'll tell you what the world was like. He'll tell you that when he crossed his fraternity, MLK was just assassinated. He'll tell you what it was like being black in the Midwest at that point in time.
Sheesh.
He drops so many gems and puts things in perspective.
Yes.
Right. And then when you talk about, well, your marriage is strong, it's rooted in faith and X, Y, and Z, he'll talk to you. He talks me through a lot of stuff. And then, just yesterday I'm talking to Jesse. That's how close we are. Me, Jesse, Fred, he's 60. Charles is 65. Like these are good, close friends and mentors to me. Mentors are very important.
Very important.
Which is why that feedback and not being scared of that feedback from a respected source really matters. You should be seeking that, in fact.
Absolutely.
Right? So he tells me like, well, this is how he talks. He's kind of funny, like Chicago, whatever, fast talking, like me. But he's like, I told you about the ladies, man. You gotta let them come to you, baby. You gotta let them come to you. As long as you go somewhere, they ain't going nowhere.
Ooh,
I'm like,
okay. Okay. Let's go.
Come on now.
So I don't really know if it's bars if you did it during the soul days. Like it might be like, he just crooned to me.
Yeah.
But but you're like the old heads are perfect for that. Right. But the best part about it and the beauty of life and life cycles is I'm 42. I get a chance to be an old head for a 25-year-old, right? Like you get to share your stories and experiences. So I might not be as advanced as Jesse and Charles and Fred are, right? But in my own experience, and these guys might influence me, I'm turning back to the generations behind. And guess what? One of them's going to be an old head for my son.
Sheesh.
Right?
Me.
And so you should be seeking those mentors and those opportunities and be able to check in those gems from people who have real, lived-in, valid experience.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'm glad you brought that part of how important mentors are, and that the old generation does hold so much knowledge, because it's in a sense that like a lot of our American culture, we almost say like you get old, we kind of throw you away. You don't know what you're talking about. We're gonna leave you, and I think it's why we continuously keep repeating mistakes, and we're not advancing the way we used to be. Right? We don't sit down with them anymore. Now with mentors, a lot of people say you don't always need to know them to have them be a mentor. You can either read about them and things like that. Do you have any mentors that are people that you haven't met or never had a conversation with, but learned just from the life that they lived?
Yeah. I didn't think about it until you asked me that question that way, because I do interact with my mentors. But if I can say that there are people who influence my thinking, technically speaking, that is a mentor as well, because even though they're not giving you the live feedback, just something that they say causes you to question and ask deeper questions about yourself to a point of learning. And by the way, they probably have material out there that can kind of help you where you are in your thought in that moment. So I would say John C. Maxwell, who I referenced earlier, right? John C. Maxwell is a leadership guru before all of the influencers and podcasts and things of that nature. Shout out to podcasts because we're on one now. My first one, by the way. So thank you for making this easy.
Appreciate it.
It was really what I read in the Roadmap to Success that caused me to start my first company, right? Again, if you do something that you love to do, that helps others, that you can financially sustain on while doing, the success is sure to come, and it surely did. And so from there, I gift that book to anybody who ever asks me to be their mentor. Read this first. And let me know, let's have a conversation about what you learned from it, right? I would say that also inspired me to read another book of his called Fail Forward, right? Fail Forward is talking about exactly what I mentioned with Richard Branson, being able to try and fall over and pick yourself back up to try again.
Yeah.
Right? Learn how not to fall over. It encouraged a mindset, right? Without me actually ever meeting this individual, right? I think of Simon Sinek, right? Start with why. You heard me actually reference that. That is a mentor speaking through the work that I'm doing. I've never met the man, even though he's from New Jersey, just like me,
Yep.
right? Just like where I live, right? And so start with why. Leaders eat last, right? Servant leadership to your people. You've been to one of my holiday events. You see, I
Yes, I
serve
have.
my people.
Yes, you do.
That's what leadership is supposed to look like. I'm a servant leader to my people,
Mhm.
right? I love my people. I will go through a wall for my people because they go through a wall for me every single day. So leaders eat last. Means a lot to me. Never met the man. I would love to, but I haven't met him. And he's been a mentor from a distance. I think that when you have people who are solid thought leaders, and you get to yourself, wrapped up in their work a little bit, you'll actually start to see again areas of commonality just in some of the stuff that they talk about conceptually.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's like, okay, I understand that concept, but I also heard somebody else and this other person. Okay, cool. Now I've kind of triangulated this concept, and this kind of seems like something I should focus on practicing, learning, something networking about, around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I didn't think about it until you asked about it that way. But yes.
Yeah. No, I never looked at mentors that way either until it was a social media clip. I'm trying to remember who the person was. But they said mentors don't have to be someone that you've actually met. You can, because of books and things, you can learn. And it kind of changed my mind on mentors because like being in media, business, and now in social work and things like that, a lot of my mentors have nothing to do with any of this. Like from the books I read, like the first 3 people that were influential in a lot of the things I do, Malcolm X, David Goggins, Kobe Bryant. To this day, the 3 of them are deeply rooted in how I move, how I think, and how I build.
Yeah, I will have to say, David Goggins is a very interesting cat.
Very interesting. All day. Some days it's going to be, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't even know how to respond to that. I really, really don't. But he does say, some very influential things. And he's cold, not cold about it, but he's just blunt about it, which I love and appreciate.
Yeah.
But one person I have to give credit to, and I think it's one of those things that you actually mentioned that, it's not just old people that we don't appreciate while they're here. It really could be anybody, which is why we should always embrace each other.
Yeah.
I could not stand Kobe Bryant as a player. Could not stand him, did not follow him. It's like, oh, he's just a Jordan, knockoff, all the rest of this stuff. That's how I actually felt. I'm like, this guy's pompous.
Yep.
Look, he's making fun of Shaq for being fat. Now Shaq got traded to Miami and won a championship with Dwayne Wade. That's what you get, Kobe.
Oh, ouch.
But then he retired. And you started seeing Kobe outside of basketball. You started seeing Kobe the thinker. You started seeing Kobe the dad, the girl dad. And started that whole movement, right? I gained so much appreciation for him in that moment. I remember thinking, this guy's really starting to grow on me. I spent all these years not liking this guy. And he's actually starting to grow on me. I like the way that he thinks. I like the way that this guy moves. In fact, he's got elements about him that I actually want to emulate.
Yep.
And then he passes away. Right? So you got to appreciate what's in front of you while it's here.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody has value. Every experience, every interaction has value.
Yes.
And so, take the bits and pieces that apply, process them. You might process them at your own time.
Yeah.
Right? Because now that Kobe is gone, it's something that he might have said 10 years ago that I'm processing like, damn, that's what he was talking about.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it leads me to another line I remember being shared where they said, don't judge the messenger, but listen to the message.
Facts.
And it kind of resonated what you said with Kobe. Like when you're watching him play, you're like, nah, change channel. I'm good. And until you slow down and you listen to the message that he was living in his life, and it takes a different piece on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like being in that room with somebody, like that guy over there might be quiet. Just kind of sitting at the bar by himself.
Yep.
No one's really talking to him.
Right.
He may have the most interesting story in the room.
Yep.
He may have the golden nugget that no one's going to get because no one's saying hi, but you walk up and say hello and boom.
Right.
All of a sudden you're on a plane flying somewhere and you're like, I don't know how I got here, but this is cool. Who are we going to go meet? Yeah. And I'm just saying your life can change that quickly. And those are those times where like you're making a decision based on complete intuition at that point. Yeah. Like, I don't know why I'm going with you. Right. It feels like I should. I'm gonna keep going. And I've had that experience with myself, like with people I work with. Tyson, I met with him, and literally we worked probably, I think, 2 months together. And then out of nowhere, he was like, bro, I dig you. I like what we're doing. I don't know what you're into next, but whatever it is, I'm going to go to the end with you. What are we doing?
There you go.
And till this day, we keep vibing and keep working. Have you ever, along your journey, have you run into anyone like that where the instantly when you started working together, the energy, the vibe, and the intuition was there, like, okay, this is somebody I have to follow?
Oh, yeah. Ironically, because we were just talking about Kobe, it was the person who called me when Kobe passed away. I was sitting down actually talking to Charles.
Okay.
One of my older friends, the gentleman I told you, 65. Very close mentor and friend to me. Literally just texting on the way here about the new Hummer because I'm like, yeah, you get the Hummer.
It's like 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. The price tag is also massive. Right? But I was sitting at his table. I get a phone call, and he's like, "Yo, man, I heard Kobe just died." I'm like, "No." I'm like looking around ESPN. I don't see anything. I'm looking at all my news sources, trying to see like at least 3-4 sources. I see nothing. I'm like, "Nah, man, you tripping? Like, where'd you hear that from?" And then like 10 minutes later, you actually see it all over the news, breaking news, whatever was on TV, stopped, everything else like that. My man was heartbroken, big Kobe fan. And you actually, I believe you know him, Dr. Juan Rios.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Oh yes.
I was at Montclair State University talking to bachelor's level students, social work students, and I was just doing like a career day, just talking to them about paraprofessional to professional routes, things that they should look at, things they can consider as they try to evaluate or navigate their career, right? And the professor pulls me off to the side. She goes, there's a guy that his energy is kind of like yours. I feel like you guys would like hit it off.
Yo.
And I was like, man, you don't really know me.
Yeah.
She couldn't be more on the money. Because when I reached out to him, she connected us via text, and he didn't even like read my profile. Like just off of her vouch, she's like, yo, this guy's really dope. He reminds me of you. He goes, all right, cool. We got a social work symposium next week. Why don't you come speak? I'm like, come speak. You don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
This is weird, right? I meet this brother, and he is just like, he's like me. He's, tall, got the glasses, got the hair slicked off to the side, got the cool guy outfit going on.
Oh, yeah.
But then when he opens his mouth to speak at the symposium, I'm like, yo, this guy's brilliant. Yo, he's mad smart. I'm like, yo, I gotta connect. I gotta be friends with this guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, so I talked. After we left, he's like, yo, hermano. I'm like, what? He's like, yo, I like you, man. We gotta hang out more. I'm like, okay, cool. That went from to not just talking like professionally, like we became like brothers. You know what I mean? Like, so like that's my dude, like straight up. Like I tell him all the time, like I would take a bullet for you, but my skin shape. So I ask that you do not put me in a position to do that. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's my guy, right? And so like he's my brother, like straight up, because his energy is so strong. He's very big on that nerd culture. Like he and I we can nerd out on hip hop, basketball, Marvel comics, social work, real estate, Black and brown entrepreneurship. We can nerd all of those things. Like it's nothing. We don't have to see each other too often. And every time we do, it's like we never left. Right? Like, so he's a guy that even for our own future plans in terms of business, I'm like, no. I don't need you working here. We need to be partners doing this together. Like
there you go.
That's my guy.
There you
hands
go.
down. Smartest person I think I've ever met in my entire life.
Sheesh. Huh. Like, I'm in a 7th inning stretch of all these conversations, bro. Like, I mean, but you're...
And we was pre-gaming.
No, I love the way it's going because when you speak, it comes full circle, and painting an image of who you are and what you do and the experience is almost like as if you're telling me a movie. And that's why I'm sitting here, I'm loving everything I'm hearing about what you're doing and how you came to be and the people that surround you. But I do have to ask because I believe that you're a very forward-thinking person, and I think that you have, with the wealth of knowledge you have, you kind of see the arena that we live in, the world that we work in with people. What are you seeing now? Where do you think things are going?
I worry about the future of human interaction. I think that we live in such a tech-assisted world sometimes that we kind of forget the technology is a tool and we kind of use it as a replacement. I worry about my 15-year-old son who mindlessly scrolls through TikTok all day. I worry about, just like how we're having this here, you know what I mean? Like just there's something about that old school connection with a person being in someone's presence that's a part of that relationship building. I worry about the future of relationship buildings and quality thereof, right? I wonder about those things and how technology maybe effectively can enable until it disables
Yep.
certain aspects of the human experience. So that's something that I'm kind of like watching. Like it's a trend that I'm kind of watching and trying to stay kind of ahead of, right? Don't let social media, be a replacement for interaction with people.
Absolutely.
Because now all of a sudden you have what they like they talk about them internet gangsters.
Seriously.
Like where I come from, you're gonna say it to my face.
That's right.
But aside from saying, I'm not saying that to challenge. I'm saying more like, let's sit down and have a good discussion, a good debate about this. Let the best ideas, especially if they're coming from a well-informed place.
Yes.
Because we both walk away better from that exchange. And I wonder about that, where people are receiving their news from all over the place. This influencer told you, hey, I'm gonna show you how to make $1 million, but what you don't realize is they're 6 months later on their rent.
Ooh.
And so you take everything they say as gospel truth, and your gospel truth that's misguided is interacting with someone else's gospel truth that may or may not be misguided, right? That is like the circles that we're kind of like seeing and dealing with.
Yes.
And I think it's very interesting as a phenomenon to kind of watch.
It absolutely is. And the fact that everything you spoke on is being fed to you through an algorithm that just doubles down on supporting what it is that you like, believe in, and are intrigued by. It gives you tunnel vision, same think, and blindness all at once. All at once.
All at once. And it's very interesting because I think the thing that I'm scared most of is that we're actually going to lose the beauty of thought.
Ooh.
Thinking. And letting our thoughts interact with each other in these spaces like we're doing here, right here.
Yeah.
Right? And everything is just going to come from this assisted place, and we're just kind of be off. And like, it's interesting to see. Right? And I think Dr. Rios would love to, like, yo, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Like right now, if he were here, because he's a futurist, like, he's like, okay, cool. That is a signal. Well, what's the implications? What's the implications of the implications? Right?
Yes.
And so when I'm looking at these things that we're experiencing in terms of human interaction, while Zoom and all that stuff is definitely cool, I think like we have to have a hybridized approach to it.
Yes.
Right? Like we are making good use. We should be looking to make good use, but we should also disconnect to reconnect. You know what I mean? To a certain degree, at least that's what I believe. And so I'm very interested in seeing that pattern, especially being in the mental health arena, because I do believe the implications do have implication on our own mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And we see it with every industry. And I'm going to keep referencing into media because my previous guest, John Fuentes, made a statement because I asked him similar question geared towards media. Because I'm like, bro, we're both in it.
Yep.
You're directing a lot bigger things than I am. You're in bigger rooms than I am. What do you see? And because my worried was same thing as you. We're going to lose the essence of what the art and the creativity is. And he brought an idea to me where he said, right now, we've realized that you have a tool that allows you to get almost an unlimited amount of content to you at 24/7. So every company is trying to flood you with as much as possible to gain your attention.
Information overload.
And we get to a point where everything is going to just kind of plateau.
Right.
Because we talked about AI coming in and how Tyler Perry stopped the $80 million renovation of expansion of his movie studio because he saw what AI can do for film.
Right.
And I'm like, pretty big, heavy hitter out there making these changes. And I said, where do we go from it? Where do we sit? And he said, well, you have to realize something. AI is can only create in multiples of the information which you give it. It won't make anything seemingly original. It can't add the values you haven't put in. Right. So he goes, what's going to happen is we're going to have a lot of very similar content around everybody. And what will allow you to stand out is that original idea. So he goes, you're worried. But he goes, but I would be telling you that if you're a true creative, you chase new ideas. You go after things that are unique, and you don't mind being patient and taking your time to create it. You're going to rise to the top. And I thought about it, I'm like, he's right, because if you look at some of the movies that stand out to this day, right? Like they say, not all the movies are doing great. All all the Marvel movies and superhero movies are just rehashing them. People love them, ain't nothing wrong with it. But we're getting a lot of copy and paste.
Yeah.
Musicians are just
where's your James Cameron with the John Williams score? You know
thank you. And that's the thing. Like with the last really, I think, standout film I saw was Oppenheimer. A huge Christopher Nolan fan. Love him. Almost the whole catalog is you can't go wrong.
No, seriously.
And I sit there and I'm like, why? Because the man literally goes, all right, I'm gonna make this. Well, how long is it going to take? How long it takes?
Yeah.
What budget is it? As much you can give me.
Right.
Like, who's going to be in it? Everybody I like.
But that's the way. That's the way.
Like, I'm just saying, like, when you look at the way he casts, I'm like, yo, the cast almost makes. And I look at the roster and I'm like, bro, the way he makes movies is if somebody was like, we're starting a brand new NBA team.
Yeah.
You have no salary cap. Because I'm like, bro, the smallest parts have the biggest hitters in them.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, when they asked Robert Downey Jr., why'd you do the film? He goes, because when I read the part, I couldn't say no.
Yep.
And that showed me that he's making something that's so meaningful to the art.
Yes.
People want to take the pay cut.
See, that is beautiful.
Yes.
You know, that is beautiful because first things first, you really should not box creativity, right? If you're just operating within a tight framework, not without even knowing that it's tight, right? With your creativity, you're going to be very, very limited.
Yes.
Right? Very, very limited. And the beauty of what you can create literally is, I don't even know if there's a reverse. You know, we talk about exponential growth, exponential decline.
Yes.
Right. I'm worried about creativity even being lost. Right. Like, you got to worry about that. Like, you know, like it's funny because Nas once said no idea is original, but what we're talking about in terms of trend actually is gearing toward making no idea original. Right.
Oh my
Truly
God.
original. So when creativity is lost, what does it mean for us as people? Like, so you mentioned the art. Right? And loving the art, loving the craft. You're right.
Yes.
Because when you are walking in your purpose, that paycheck doesn't matter as much as the thing that you actually love. It could be music. It could be, you know, actual painting, whatever it is, media. It could be, you know, movies, whatever it is. If you're that in love with your art and you're actually threatened by the challenges or the threats to its creativity, you'll take that pay cut.
Absolutely.
Something super innovative, right?
Absolutely.
Like people talk for the culture. Yeah, to save the culture.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's so right.
Real.
That's so right. Because like as a creator, you see the long term. You see effects it leaves and you see the impact it can have down the road and trusting like this is my purpose. I'm going to be fine regardless. Yeah. Now I consider you a creator. Like based on every conversation we had, the industries you're in, the way you support people, I view you as a creator. So absolutely, man. Absolutely. So my thing is being in a TikTok world, a scroll world, a consistent stimulation world. Yeah. What do you do to ensure that you are still able to create at the level that you do?
Kill the noise. Kill the noise. Like I have, as much as I go out, I consider myself an ambivert. You know, well, you met me at the holiday party. Drink up came on, and you knew I was from New York.
Bro, come on now. Come on now.
Say is attention, please.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God.
Like, and then I started, you know, strolling, dancing, whatever the case was. But what you don't see is when I go home and I'm in my place of peace and it's quiet and there's candles lit or whatever the case is, and I might just be sitting in the dark and I'm just processing things.
Yes.
I'm processing my day. I'm processing things that I've experienced. I'm processing where I want to go next. I'm getting in that creative space. I've learned from my own mental health and resilience, I need to put myself in that creative space, right? Because when I'm in that creative space, I'm truly free.
Yes.
Truly, truly free, without bound, right? I could dream whatever I want to dream. It's not hurting nobody, right? People forget that. It don't cost you anything to dream.
Not at all.
So when I'm in my place of peace, I'm in my little creative space and I just start playing around with all the what ifs. What if? You know what I mean? What if? Right? Marvel had a whole series about that. Like, what if no one was watching The Watcher? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if Wolverine was Spider-Man? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody sits and asks themselves, like, what if anymore? Right? Like, it's more like we have this microwave culture where people just expect everything done to be, to be done instantly.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not worried about the what ifs. They just worried about the what is and how fast. Right? And so I'm like, what if we did this? What if we tried this? You play around with it. Like, we talked about music production.
Yes, sir.
One of the best experiences of my life. I kind of traded it in because I was so lost in that creative space that I wasn't really focusing on the other work that I was doing, which also allowed me to be creative. I had to pull back and understand that it wasn't just the music. It was about being in that creative space. And once you understand that creative space and the beauty of that creative space, you can actually be in that creative space in any industry or any application that you choose.
Wow.
Right? I could be in my creative space learning a new or creating a new recipe for something. I could be in my creative space creating new music.
Yeah.
I could be in my creative space conceptualizing a new disruptive business idea.
Yep.
Right? That's my creative space. And when I'm in that creative space, my inner child is jumping up and down with joy.
Yep.
Right? Because like I said, what they called it homicide Hollis back in the day. Queens, New York could not get out the yard and play. My little me is getting out the yard and playing in the middle of the street, doing everything they told me not to do when I'm in my creative space. Right? So I turn down the noise sometimes as a means of getting into that creative space. I love escaping to like the Catskills, right? It's quick, simple from here. I'm in nature. I'm by water, watching it free flow and just letting my ideas go.
Yep.
Letting everything else go.
Yeah.
Turn off the phone, no social media, me, dogs, water, cool, right?
Yeah.
And when I come back, I'm so rejuvenated because I'm letting the ideas flow, even if I haven't done anything with them yet. Just the fact that they hit me, recharged my soul and my spirit so much that it actually feeds right back into that resilience that we talked about, to go out there and go try again, to go try something new, to dare to look crazy, sound crazy, even be crazy, right? Yeah. With the understanding that your judgment doesn't define me, only I do. Only I define myself, right? So when I'm in that creative space, I think that's what creative art is really about. Right? You're defining who you are and you're expressing that person through your creativity. And so if that's lost, save the culture.
Yep.
Save the creative culture.
Jeez. I mean,
save the creative culture.
Yeah.
I think that's a wrap. Because
I'm saying here just sponging everything.
Right? I think, oh man, I definitely want to end it on that. I mean, if the people want more, they could have you, but we'll have you back. Because that was, oh man, you made so many beautiful points, so many beautiful statements that resonate with me. And I know they probably resonate with a lot of people that are just being creative, building and going against the grain and trying something new. I agree with you. I think it's hugely needed in our society. We are somewhat in a warfare over organic, creative ideas and just reputable, replicated pieces of information with overload. But it's cool to be on this side and fighting for what we feel is right. Absolutely. So let the battle begin, right?
Yep.
But I definitely want to, before we send you out, use your camera. Take your time, look out there, speak to the people, let them know what you got going on, how they can find you, where they can check you out, and keep up what you're doing.
Sure. Okay. So, like I said, social entrepreneur. My primary focus is in the behavioral healthcare space, where we have a few different businesses and are making some other business acquisitions in that space, really promoting stories around the mental health aspect of things, but also the people who are helping the individuals coming for mental health treatment, right? So that's where my passion resides. That's where everything is. You can find us at www.justempower.me. The concept is pretty simple. If I can just empower myself, then I can pour back into empowering others. That's a part of our culture and how we look at things. And then also on Instagram at doc_entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. I know.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, I know. You got to put that nerd in there. That nerd culture is everything. But yeah, that's kind of where we are with everything. And as far as other things that we're up to, didn't really get a chance to dig into it now. Maybe for, I don't know if we do another one. Right?
Absolutely. We'll definitely have you back.
Definitely.
I appreciate that. And again, thank you for making it so easy. But, I build sustainable housing, actually affordable housing, in places like Newark, New Jersey, looking into Detroit, Michigan, as we stand right now, Cincinnati, Ohio, New Orleans. Did it in Atlanta years ago as well. So I used to do what we called slow flips. I'd buy a place at a good price point and actually rent it back to somebody. And then for the same price as their rent, that turned into their mortgage to buy it from me to promote home ownership. Because, research actually talks about, and again, homicide Hollis, what community trauma looks like.
Yep.
But those community traumas reduce when we own more of our neighborhoods versus.
That's right.
Right. So promoting some more of that. These are things, passion projects, hobbies, right? That we engage in, that also obviously make money, but also make an impact.
Yes, sir.
And so, yeah, that's all I got, brother.
Whoa. I mean, that's a whole lot. So,
Yes, sir. Yes,
but
sir.
Dr. Marlon Gray, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. This has been
Please just call me Marlon.
Marlon.
I forget about
Marlon.
I forget about.
It's all marketing. I need to tell them the whole name.
Yeah.
They got to be able to Google it. It's got to, the keywords come from the search.
If I could actually be honest with something, and maybe you might want to edit this out later, but I'm going to say it to say it. So there's only really one reason I became Dr. Gray.
Okay.
Because when that 50 Shades of Grey book came out and people like calling me Mr. Gray. Hey, Mr. Gray.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Gray. We're going to go on a date, Mr. Gray. I'm like, what? I didn't understand what it was because I hadn't read those terribly written books. Okay. But I realized that in terms of romance, they were expecting things from me from this book that I
was sheesh. Wow.
Was I willing? Okay. So I'm like, you know what? Quick distinction, Dr. Gray.
I got to go back to school.
I got to go back to school.
Jeez. I mean, that's a heck of a motivator, though.
Hey, no, but I joke. I mean, but those jokes were very annoying for years. Not gonna lie about that. But yeah, I mean, the motivation was to be the best of the best, honestly, so that I can inspire my son to do the same as well in his own unique way. Back to that creativity, right? Putting your own unique signature on something that you create based on whatever you decide to be bold enough to dream.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I think you're doing a heck of a job. I'm sure you're inspiring him. I know you inspire me with the words and the things that you shared.
You inspire me. I mean, this is a great thing.
I'm over here just eating it up, man.
I see it.
I'm over here just eating it up, man.
Wait, did he get a nickname?
AJ, yeah. He was, today you were, I said the man, the myth, the legend himself, AJX Beast Mode.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yes.
Even though you used that like 3 times already, but it's all good.
I didn't put the man, the myth, the legend beforehand. It's a whole name. How are you criticizing me?
Beast Mode, man.
Cut his mic. Cut your mic. Nah, man, but we can keep going. I definitely want to thank you again for coming on the show. This has been amazing. We're going to have you come back because we need to talk about music.
Yes.
We need to talk about the communities.
Yes.
And we need to talk about the business and just educating more people to get into this space.
You'd actually be surprised the amount of overlap that all of those elements actually have.
Oh, absolutely.
They have on each other as well. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm here for the conversation, brother.
We're going to make it happen. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And so if you guys love what you heard, love what you saw, any of that, make sure you like and subscribe to the show. Check out all of the links below. You can follow the man wherever he goes, not directly, but you can keep up with the initiatives.
I'm from Queens. You gotta give me some space.
Yeah, watch from afar. Watch from afar. But even worse. Keep track and keep up with the great things that is currently doing. And if you are looking to get involved, you know where you can reach out and see how you can contribute. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we always appreciate you tuning in. If you followed us for this long, you know what we're going to ask. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Check us out on Instagram at A State of Loud. That's at A State of Loud. You know how it is. Always happy to have you guys here. AJ, always a pleasure, my guy. Hope you enjoyed the show as always. Say peace to the people.
Peace, peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's number love. And as always...